we continue, our study on the book Nosso Lar. As we have been saying in the past 2 weeks, when we started, the idea is not just to to focus on the story per se, the details, the conversations, but to try to gather from the of course the story, the conversations, everything that we have there, the important things for us to meditate, the knowledge, the teachings that brings here, the how much it opened our horizons. Again, we have to remember that this book is from 1943 or 44, if I'm not mistaken, and just to think about the futuristic ideas that it brought at that time, that today in the 21st century, with everything, all the technological advancements that we have, it wouldn't be that surprising to us. We can associate when he talks about what could be like a plasma TV or something. At that time, in the early 40s, we had no idea about that. So it was, this was one of the reasons why it was so hard from Chico Xavier, the one that has received it through his mediumship, all this knowledge by the spirit Andrea Lewis, to even have the courage to show his writings to, at the time, the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, because they say they will think that I'm crazy. And many people still reading those books today will say, oh my God, what a fiction, or a creative mind. But more and more we are having, facts, things that have been leading us to conclude to the veracity of many of the topics, especially when we are talking about Andrea Lewis, him being a doctor in his last incarnation here on Earth. All the medical concepts that he brought, that only now, doctors from the Spiritist medical associations are showing, listen, those things that he was talking in the 40s, 50s, early 60s are only now being discovered by science. So it's not for us to be surprised when people, even today, when they read those books or watch the movie, they say, oh no, this cannot be so, or it is too much alike what we have on Earth. The thing is, one thing that we always like to repeat, and I repeat a lot of things, but this is one of them. We don't change that much when we die. I mean, our physical body, it stays behind, but everything that we are, that we represent, and even a body, a spiritual body that is somewhat also material, we will have in this physical life. So there is nothing for us to be surprised at, that somehow we will need the same kind of structure, edifications, all of that. And so this is in this dialogue that the spirit Andrea Lewis is having with his friend from the book Lysias, the nurse that helped him, that will be even more participant in all of this, in this book in particular. So Andrea Lewis is here remembering, that was not actually that long ago, when he himself was, dead, a spirit, but not belonging to a spiritual colony such as Nosso Lar. he was in a place of suffering, like we saw in the first part of this study, in a region that we normally refer to lower zones or umbral, but mostly lower zones, where spirits that are still too much attached to their inferiority do not find in themselves the right energetic structure, so to say, to be able to move on, to go to or to be included in the life of spiritual colonies where they could have a better situation. So Andrea Lewis is curious in relation to locations. We have to remember that here we are talking about an Andrea Lewis that was basically a recently discarnate, with an inquisitive mind, a mind of a man of science, and he wanted to understand everything, and with the right proportions. I mean, if in these conversations Lysias could tell him, oh, the is lower zone is located from mile 5 to mile 55. You know, that's what he wanted to know. He wanted exact locations. He wanted all of this. And so what he can provide, the information that he can provide, and that he says, again, is nothing for us to be surprised with. Since we are talking about spirits that are much more connected and still with the life they had while on earth, they will be as close to Earth as it possible, and it is possible for them. So the lower zones, it's really located on the Earth's crust. There we find legions of irresolute and ignorant souls who are not wicked enough to be relegated to colonies of the most dolorous expiations, nor are they sufficiently virtuous to be admitted to planes of higher elevation. So the majority of spirits, in a way, at some point in their discarnate lives, they pass through or stay for a while in the lower zones. Not necessarily they go to spiritual colonies a bit more evolved, with a bit more of assistance. And also, not necessarily they go to places that are even worse than the lower zones, where we will really find spirits committed to evil, destruction, violence, impacting the spirit realm as well as the physical one. Okay, so the lower zones is not necessarily that bad. It is a place of correction, awakening, like it happened to Andrea Lewis. He stayed there for a while. He was suffering deprivation of all sorts, until he said, well, I have to do something to change my position. And in that particular case, he remembered to, move from a very negative, pessimistic, poor me position to one that I have to do something about. Maybe if I calm myself down, if I remember, since I didn't believe that there was life after death, and I remember my mother saying, pray, there is, the immortality and so on, he decided to go through this other way. And it was when he changed his energy, and it was capable of being rescued. It's like somehow we would imagine ourselves immersed in a lake where people will go there to rescue us, but they do not see us immersed in a lake unless we start by our own effort to come out to the surface, which was what André Luiz did with his prayer, with his changing of mental outlook. Questions, comments?
Yusara,
Yes.
I feel so good listening to that. He's very inquisitive. And I'm going to pay more attention to reading his books. But the question is, if he was so inquisitive, did he really realize that the evil without a physical body cannot do any harm? Did that cross his mind? That they're very selective and all that, but the spirit world still doesn't realize that the incarnation having producing a physical body is what's happening now with Russia. We might have a war. Why? Because we have that physical body. Without that physical body, there won't be no. You couldn't do anything. This is why I compare. I used to use the term rubber.
It would be very good, really, if you read a little bit more of his books, because he mentions so many things in relation to what you are just saying. And also, even in the book Nosso Lar, and we will see along our studies, I believe here, we will see that many times the wars are fomented by spirits, not by the incarnates. They are the ones, they are the mastermind of behind everything, because since they do not want planet Earth and its citizens to grow and to move their spiritual vibration, because they will no longer fit. They will no longer fit in this arena. If this is the case, then is when they will try to make an impact and provoke, like really that little image that we have, the little devil here on one side, the little angel on the other side. So the little devils will be saying, listen, that country is disrespecting you. Those citizens have a lot of prejudice against our citizens, and bring this, valuing too much nationalities, etc., completely forgetting, and us as well on our part, that since we are immortal spirits and that we have been reincarnating, we have been citizens of many different countries already, countries that do not even exist any longer, you see. So yes, they may not feel the physical pain as much as we do, although they do feel physical pain. But many times, like we have in that questions 255 from the Spirit book, I think it's 255, 57. I'm not so sure of the number of the question. The spirituals are frequently commanding our minds if we give room for them to do so. But let's go ahead a little bit. And here is an image, a depiction of what the lower zones represent. You see here on the left corner, we see the entities that really do not want to receive the influence of the good spirits, the presence of good spirits. I mean, again, this should be no surprise to us. We see the same thing on Earth, right? There are communities, there are people that we want to go there, we want to help them, and they say, why do you want to help me? I'm very, very well the way I am. I don't need any kind of help. or I don't like your ways, I like our ways, your ways, I like our ways. When we talk about cleanliness, for example, they say, no, I like to live this way. I don't like a clean place, a clean house, a structure things. So their affinity is much more to this, life in disarray than necessarily the structure, because of course that for you to be entitled to become part of a different community, you have to respect the values of that community. So here they don't want to do that, because also it means owning their own mistakes, which they do not want to do as well. Again, it's so much easier when we just blame each and every one for everything that happens to me. And when it comes the time to make something different, um, we don't. We don't move away. We don't do the effort, and we throw the guilty the result of our lives to society when it's basic hours. Even this last week, I was hearing an interview that was made with a person that I admire very much and is a friend of mine, Professor Severino Celestino, and and he was talking about his upbringing. He was born in a very, very poor region in the northeast of Brazil. His parents had 27 children. He was the number 21. They were poor, 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 completely poor. This man today, he went to seminar. He loved to study. He basically learned to read and write by himself. He went to seminar where the priests managed to make his life a little easier. And today he's a college professor, a PhD, and well, continue to dedicate his life to spiritual values. He's a very well known and respected spiritist. But he went when he went to college. He said there was some time that I had just to stop because I didn't have money to pay for college, so I had to work. And he worked in the collecting money on the bus, for the bus fare. Very humble positions to gather money to pay for his next semester, and then stop again. And I mean, okay, we will say this is one case in a million. Yeah, it may be one case in a million, and I'm bringing here an example that is really extreme. But even when it is extreme, it is possible. If there is a will, there is a way. So here is the situation that we see here, and as it's described in the book, it is the shadowy zone for those who in the world turned a deaf ear to the call of the sacred duties, which they failed to fulfill, languishing instead in indecision or dragging themselves into the mire of wrongdoings. Those countless inhabitants of the lower zones are close companions to incarnate people, separated from them only by vibratory laws. So the different vibrations. So that's why they are what we call the earthbound spirits. Okay, they are still interested in the kind of life we have here, the conversations we have, the activities we practice, especially the ones that are more, earth-like thoughts and actions. And so it's not unusual for these spirits to look for, ambience where they will feel at easy. Let's say that was a spirit that liked to drink a lot while alive. Where do you think this spirit is going to be after death? He is going to be looking for a bar, to be surrounded by everything that is familiar to him. It is everything happens through affinity. Any question? Because now we go to a different area. Okay, so here is one passage of the book that is very interesting. It comes to a point where André Lewis is recovered. He is there already in the Nosso Lar, received all the treatment, walked around the spiritual colony, get to know a little bit about the structure, made a few friends. And then he said, well, now what? Am I going to spend the rest of my days playing harp? Right? What do we do here on the other side of life? And at the same time, he was observing, especially when he was in hospital, right? The doctors, the nurses, everything that was collaborating there. So he thought, well, I need a job. I need some sort of activity. I have to engage in some productive activity. And it was when he knew, he understood that he could go to talk to this minister, to the minister's office with Minister Clarencio, to see what his next step would be. And to his surprise, he thought he was going to have a private conversation, but there was another lady that was invited to have the conversation with him. And in the book, it is explained that the minister has this habit of receiving in pairs, because one always learns from the other. So here we have André Lewis, coming from a reincarnation where he was a brilliant doctor, okay, one that we talk about him even today. And he thinks, well, maybe I can get a similar position here in Nosso Lar. I can become one of the doctors. And so he was thinking about, a high-level position already. And it was when this woman starts talking to the minister, as we can see in this image that depict her according to the description we have in the book. She was kind of crying and unhappy and saying, listen, my family is in need of assistance. I have to help them. And then the minister says, well, you know that here, everything is also is related to marriage. In order for you to merit as well, to be closer and to help them more directly, you have to gather credit yourself. And you have been having the possibility of getting credit, many of them. First you came, we offered you a position in this area, and then you said, oh no, this is not for me. Then we gave another position, oh no, this is not for me. I mean, she was already in the fourth position and it was not for her. So he said, you have to become active. And I mean, sometimes we may think, well, this is kind of strange, right? I mean, how can we not help? Of course, the spirits are helping. And the family, everyone that is in need of assistance is going to receive help. But for us to be more involved, we have to be also, changing our way of thinking, our vibration. Here is not only because she's not being productive and receiving credit that they call bonus hours, according to how many hours you work, you have a certain number of points, so to say. But it shows the willingness of being of service to others, of helping in a way that you can, being productive. And when André Luiz was observing the dialogue, he said, "Oh my God, things here are much harder than I thought." And because even the minister was talking to her, you keep on requiring positions for yourself that you do not have the ability to fulfill them. And then it was when André Luiz started to question, "Oh my God, am I really capable of, requesting a position of, medical doctor position here?" And when it came the time that, "Oh, okay, Andrea, how can I assist you?" He said, oh no, I just need a job. Whatever you find for me, it's good." And later on, he's going to have a conversation, say, "Well, I was expecting to become a medical doctor." And he's going to explain, say, "Well, you may understand a lot of medicine in relation to the physical body, but what do you know of medicine in relation to the spirit, in relation to the spiritual body? It's a whole new study, for you to achieve this level." So André Luiz beautifully describes all this conversation in the book, and it tells us, even when we die, sometimes we go too much, is still directed by our material values. So now he wanted to be, the big boss doctor in the spiritual colony that he has recently, with a lot of, charity, due to the credit of his mother, not him necessarily being accepted to be part of. So this was a very important dialogue that he had. And after this conversation, they explain, we find in the book as well, explanation about, the dwellings, the homes. What do you do to have a B&B, right? Bed and breakfast in the spiritual colony, right? I just arrived, I don't know where to go. And so in the book, they talking about the structure of those spiritual cities. They explain that for you to be able to have a house of your own, you have to deserve that as well. You have to work, to have hours of work, which does not mean that we are not going to have shelter and all the basic necessities provided to you there. So he will be provided with food, with shelter, with the schools to learn and understanding more, clothes, everything he needs, he will be provided. And he is taken to the house of Lysias, the one that was talking to him. And Lysias took him to his mother's house. That was a woman that, due to her servants, etc., managed to get a house for her and the family. And André Luiz was going to be a guest in her house. And he was surprised to see, the furniture, the piano, the paintings, the flowers, everything that it's so familiar. But at the same time, as he describes, so much better than we have here. because they are not there just to be ornaments, but to bring peace. So they will have a picture, a painting that will be one that will give you, good thoughts, that will make you feel good. For the music as well, the comfortable chairs, everything that is necessary for your life without any kind of luxury, right? So this is where he found himself, and he was very happy that he managed to go to the house of a family, and he was greeted by the woman there, that is Laura, when he arrived. Any question or comment? Mhm. Go ahead, Orlando. You have to unmute her.
Yusara, I'm just curious. When we speak of the spirit world, and we mention here furniture, you would think that everything would be, I mean, how could this be possible? Spirit world and furniture? I guess, I don't know, maybe
Orlando.
because there is everything is energy.
Yeah, Orlando, this is really hard. Uh, but you see, even when we talk about our physical world, and this is absolutely not my field of expertise when we talk about physics, and they come to me and say, a wall is just molecules,
Molecules, yes, I know.
and it's an illusion of light and shadow, and there is no insurmountable matter that we cannot go through. We are talking about the physical life, and I don't understand at all. So it is the same in the spirit life. It is the same thing as here. So apparently, according to physics nowadays, you know, the clothes that I'm wearing is not necessarily pure matter. The chair that I'm sitting is not pure matter. So I don't know, Orlando. What I know is that everything that we have here is a copy of what we have there. The materials are different. The same way that
Yes.
I have a material that is very rough on the surface, I may have, the most delicate silk. Okay, they're both materials, but one is rough, the other one is very soft and nice to the touch. It's the same thing. It's in level of dimensions
Yes.
that we do not understand, and anything more than that, more than we have, would be a guess on our part, and things that we don't need. I mean, I remember once watching a lecture by a medical doctor that also likes to study physics, and he said, when you touch your hands, you're not touching your hands. It's just a friction of electrons.
Mm-hmm.
You don't touch other person. You touch the electrons. I mean, this is too much for my head, okay? But you see, this is something that we have here, even with all this physicality. So it is the same in the spirit realm, right? That there is a different physicality, different densities, but it is still there.
I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else would like to say something?
I'm surprised I don't hear Marilyn say something. Marilyn, I'm always expecting to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Orlando. I have read the book, and I really love it a lot. Nosso Lar sounds like a very remarkable place to me, and I'm not in a hurry, but I am looking forward, I hope, to experience it. I just hope I'm not going to be one of those errant spirits wandering around, wondering where I am for a long time.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's my goal exactly. I'm not in a hurry. But I also expect that somehow, we can be asked to join one of those spiritual colonies. There are so many, not necessarily Nosso Lar, right? And keep on going, right? Yeah, that's the goal. So here, as we talked last week, it's not because we are spirits that we are not going to be nourishing ourselves. The more evolved we are, the less we nourish ourselves according to what we understand here on Earth. And even here on Earth, I read books about not only yogis. Actually, when I decided to become a vegetarian many years ago, I read a book by a Swiss doctor. He wrote a book that is called Warland Manual of Health. Weierland in Swiss, Manual of Health. And he talks about, and he was a doctor, and he talks about a group that was, going into one of those cleansing diets, etc., where they basically fasted for 12 days. And at the same time that they were walking, going through a track in a region where they could walk and enjoy the air. And the only thing they would be having was water. And he says that some people of the group put on some weight. So, and not only that, but they survive it the 12 days. There are cases, I think one that we have Miguel Ruiz talks about a woman that doesn't eat and she lives. And we hear about the yogis that just do the pranayama, prana meaning air, and they live. So anyway, this is to say that this is not just related to the spirit world. We have those, exceptions here on earth as well. And so there they have nourishment more like water, juices, soups, and fruits. And it's interesting because Laura, the hostess, was explaining that according to the activity and the area where you are going to be engaged to work, you will need more or less invigorating forms of nourishment. So since Andrea Luiz was accepted to join in works at the area of regeneration, which was a very difficult area where the newcomers arrive, and he would need a more substantial way of nourishing himself. But depending on the area of Nosso Lar, your activity, you will need less and less. And this is intriguing as well, right? Orlando, when we think about the furniture, what about, the fruits, the trees, the vegetables, all of that, right? That they have there in order to enjoy a nice meal. And they talk as well about the importance of praying. So for them to be, to even to open themselves to a better way of nourishing. I remember one thing that sometimes we talk about the importance of prayer before eating has nothing to do with devotion necessarily or religiosity, but they say that these earthbound spirits, of course, the same, we have the ones that like to drink, but we also have the ones that like to eat. And they may find attunement with us if this is our case, and may even increase our appetite in order for them to enjoy more and to feel that they are eating with us. So when we kind of pray or elevate our thoughts, it's like we put a shield on ourselves, and they are not capable to impact us to consume more than we need. You see, so this is actually something that could require a workshop, and would be very nice to have, to understand all these associations on the day-to-day life, and how much sometimes, we just eat without even tasting the food, and compulsively eating. That may be the indication next to us. Okay, any comments or question?
Sarah,
Yes.
what about emotions? Are they, is there emotions, or you only get emotions having a physical body?
As I explained it a few times, Orlando, the physical body doesn't have emotions.
No, oh,
It
hush,
has
hush.
it has reactions. Reaction that is agreeable, disagreeable. If you come to me and with fire next to me, is a disagreeable sensation. If you come to me caressing me, is a nice sensation. But emotions do not pertain to the physicality. It pertains to the spirit. So I, is spirit,
Yes.
feel happy when we are having a nice conversation. And when I have a nice conversation, my body, because my spirit is happy, may feel more in balance. My heart rate is more at peace. This impacts my blood pressure and releases dopamine in my brain because I'm laughing and enjoying. Or I come to a situation that my spirit feels in danger somehow, and I immediately, my physical body, it will immediately respond to that in my GI tract, sometimes in the physical sensations that, oh my God, it even gave me goosebumps, right? So but all of that is so delicate, and it's not 1, 2, 3, ABC. It all works in a flux so well engaged that sometimes we think that is the body, and the body is just a piece of, I cannot say that my coat feels anything. My coat just covers me. The coat doesn't feel anything. My physical body is my coat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Just one more, then we stop.
I just wanted to say that I always have this habit before I eat. I have a really short little prayer, and I never realized that it was helping me to avoid overeating, which is so easy to do if something tastes good.
Exactly. Exactly. So, if we knew the true objective, first, of course, to really feel blessed because we have food on the table, and we have a table, even a table sometimes, right? The table, the food, company, family. Sometimes many people do not have all that, right? And so feel grateful for that, even for those who do not necessarily believe in God, the creation, but feel grateful. Oh my God, how blessed I am because I can have all those things. But at the same time, like you said, it changes the atmosphere and it prevents those earthbound spirits to have any kind of influence on us, on even the conversation topics that we may have, all of that. Sometimes it's just the presence of spirits not wanting to validate meetings of the family. So but again, we are not talking about automatic prayer. Okay, let's hold hands. Thank you, God, for this food. Blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you're not even paying attention to what you're saying. Everything has to come from the heart. This is the only thing that uh, that matters. Is not words. Is not what comes from our lips. It's what comes from our hearts. I think we're going to stop here. Yeah, so we will have another 2 weeks to go, I guess. But you see, like I told you, uh, I get passionate and with a lot of enthusiasm when I start explaining and things come to my mind and I wanted to share everything. And so that's why we are going so slow. But I hope it has been productive to you,
Definitely. I really loved it. And I'm looking forward to the other 2 weeks as well.
I don't think in this rhythm that we will be able to finish it next week. We will have another, at least 2 more to go. But I like it. I like this way. I think it's we're not in a hurry. We wanted to I mean, everything, every little detail is knowledge, is understanding, is are things that will help us. So we are going to be, my goal now, Marley, I want you to be one of those know-it-all. Right, when it's time, not only you, all of us, when it's time to go to the physical, to the spirit world, to say, oh, I know that, I already studied that, oh yeah, I understand that, oh, I know you have food, oh, I know you have furniture, all of this. So we're going to be a know-it-all kind of spirits, because we were due diligent in trying to learn and to get together to grab everything that we could. Okay.